Hello, everyone. Good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is IJ Thomas, IELTS coach, here to help you on another learning lesson for IELTS. And today I'm going to speak about IELTS speaking, especially on the cue card section, the task 2, the part 2 of the speaking test. My contact details are here. You can be part of the learning journey here. Check out also the free resources that you have. You can text me at my number, which is on WhatsApp, +91 97234 73377. Also, here's something new for all you IELTS seekers. We have a support group which is totally free of cost. You can hang out with people who are like-minded, find speaking partners who are vetted by me personally, and you will find a lot of learning experiences. Just go to fb.com/groups/IELTS support group. So take full advantage of those resources. But today I would like to focus on the task 2 of the speaking. And here I'm just pulling up the this the how I'm pulling up what you can do to score the 7 and 8 bands for speaking. For those who know, or just it could be a revision for most of you, how IELTS scores you on speaking is 9 bands for each of these parameters. That is fluency and coherence, lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So you have 9 bands for each, which means your total final overall bands is has 25% weightage for each of these parameters. You are aiming between 7, 8, and above 7 plus bands. Even if you look at 9 bands, you see that IELTS is not expecting perfectness. They understand that there is no perfect communicator. For example, here you can see in 9 bands, any hesitation is content related rather than to find words or grammar. That's talking about fluency and coherence for 9 bands. Going down to 7 bands, if you want at least a 7 bands, then I help a lot of students for 8777 Canada Express entry, and also for those who are looking for higher scores for entry into good colleges. Here you would say that you're looking to for fluency and coherence. You're looking to speak at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence. IELTS understands that you may demonstrate language related hesitation at times, or some repetition and self correction, and that you may use a range of connectives and discourse markers with some flexibility. So keep in mind that IELTS is not looking for perfect speakers, but yes, definitely it is looking for people who have a great fluency and coherence, who are using lexical resources optimally, including vocabulary which is less common. You have idiomatic vocabulary using words like hotcakes, and when it comes to selling like hotcakes or things like that, which help you to use to score higher scores. IELTS is looking for grammatical accuracy. Definitely, that's needed with a range of complex structures and error-free sentences. That's something that will help and go a long way to help you. And when it comes to pronunciation, it is showing that you're using a lot of pronunciation features, which means don't be mechanical in talking. You need to show that you can communicate in a way with ups and downs, where the sentence stresses are stressed appropriately, when you have an intonation which is appropriate, when you're speaking in a format and in a way that helps IELTS to know that they should give you a 7 plus bands here. And understandably, you won't have an L1. L1 means your first language, which could be your native language. And in this case, IELTS is looking for you to know that your accent has minimal effect on understanding what you are talking about. So that's what it means when it comes to IELTS speaking. Now I'm just going to show you one task which can help you in growing in your skills, and that is this task. So we just finished seeing what the IELTS band descriptors are, which will help you to get the high scores. And now we are entering into a common question, a typical task 2 question, a part 2 question for your speaking. Here's the cue card. When you go for your examiner will first begin by asking you the 4 basic introduction questions, which you can see it in another related video in this playlist round here. And second, they will then ask you some more general type of questions like, do you like music or do you use a dictionary? And once you're done with that, after 4 to 5 minutes, they will give you a sheet of paper or a spiral bound book which has just this question visible to you. Do not write anything on the question paper that they give you. They will also give you probably A5 size of paper, which is half a regular sheet of paper folded into half, and you are expected to make notes for 1 minute. Um, but this is how the cue card will look. Here's the question. A person, describe a person who can speak an international language perfectly. You will be expected to say who you will expected to say who this person is, and you will be expected to talk about a person who can speak an international language perfectly. They will give you also prompts, which is like this. Who is he or she? What language does he or she know? What does he or she use the language for? And explain why you think he or she learned it well. So IELTS is expecting you to basically talk about a person who can speak an international language perfectly. The question will always be describe a person or talk about a person who can speak an international language perfectly. And in that 1 minute, what do you do? So first of all, it's important you will be given a pencil and you are expected to speak for 1 minute. So read the question twice. This is a very important point because this prevents off-topic answers. Please note, even if you are proficient, if you are a proficient speaker, you speak English very well, but if you miss out on the topic and you talk something else, for instance, in this case, you could speak about a person who speaks Gujarati well, or language, a native language, which is not an international language. International language is English. You have Spanish, but I would suggest that you stick to English because I'm sure most of you will know international speakers, international language speakers as English. So read the question twice to prevent off-topic answers. Jot down the vocabulary in that sheet of notes that you're given. Please make it a point to note down synonymous language. For example, don't use international, you can say global. Language can remain language, or you can say lingua franca, which means another word for it's another word for a language of business. Then you can also talk about other words. Perfectly could become proficiently. So please make it a point to give vocabulary that is synonymous. And then when you start talking about he or she, a lot of students and candidates forget to do this. But if you remember in the band descriptors, one thing that IELTS is looking for you is to have a range of cohesive devices and discourse markers. What are cohesive devices? I've explained this to you earlier, but it is words like firstly, secondly, finally, and then discourse markers are words like well, definitely, surely, absolutely. So please try incorporating all this into your speaking. Here's the question again, and I'm going to, when you're writing, please write peacefully at fast. This is how my notes would look. I suggest that if you a lot of people write notes so fast that you cannot read it or you cannot glance at it easily. So please ensure that you write in all capitals if necessary. But here I put the vocabulary that will help me. I put global, I put polyglot. Polyglot is a person who knows a lot of languages, but I'm using these words to show IELTS that I have less common vocabulary. And then I continue with words like who's the person? Shashi Tharoor. Some of you may know him, but this person is a very noted politician and he's an author. He was also at Oxford, so kind of a global figure in some ways. I'm talking about how he uses it. So if you notice, I'm going according to all the prompts given so that the examiner knows that I'm not just missing out something, but I'm going according to the flow. I understand that you don't have to answer everything in the prompts, but if you stick to the task and the IELTS, what IELTS is provided, you remove any bias that could be there if you don't talk about what is listed there. And why learned? I'm just putting it as school and parental heritage. Notice I use the word parental heritage. This is a collocation. Collocations are words that are used regularly. They come as families, and IELTS loves collocations. So please make it a point to use collocations like highly proficient, extremely vulnerable, and in this case, parental heritage. So I'm going to give you a demo of speaking for the same question, and also some more tips. When you're speaking, ensure that you have a gentle smile, a pleasant smile. Confidence matters. IELTS is a communication test. Body language is 55% of what you're communicating. So it doesn't, when it doesn't look good when you're very sad and you're hesitant, and that's why I'm saying visit this IELTS support group. You can get a lot of free practice sessions, and you can also find speaking partners who are willing to talk to you on a regular basis so that your confidence grows when you speak to each other. Glance at your notes and cue card. When you're doing the actual speaking, you can glance at it. Do not read them. This is not a reading test. This is a speaking test. Describe. Usually the task will always begin with describe or talk about. So you need to describe and talk about before you enter into the prompts. Spend 25 seconds as an introduction before going to the next prompt. 25, 25. Why I say 25? Because you're aiming to finish at 2 minutes. Anything less than 1 minute, 30 seconds could give you a penalty, a 5 bands penalty. It's just like the task is incomplete. Provide background information so that your description looks good. Use the past tense. IELTS loves to see you using all kinds of tenses, and if you begin with the past tense and then talk about the present tense, it will help you a lot. Like I said, 25 seconds for each from, and this is important, give a conclusion. When you wrap up with a conclusion so that it looks nice and complete. And very important, don't just stop in the middle of your talking. Don't say that's it. The examiner will stop you. They are paid to ensure that you can have adequate time to finish your task. So don't just say that's it. And if you speak less than your allotted time, like I mentioned, you get a 5 band. Ready? At times, the examiner may cut you short before 2 minutes because they know that this person can handle the task well, or maybe they are under time pressure, or maybe that you've been speaking so much that you don't know how time has gone. So they may cut you short sometimes before 2 minutes. Stay at peace if this happens. This is absolutely okay. So I'm going to do this question for you as a 2-minute thing, and let's see how I answer. You can use this as a model, or you can do it better than me. So I have prepared the notes, and now the examiner will say, please start. So I will begin by this way. Well, when I was a child, I saw a lot of teachers coming and going from my life, and all of them spoke an international language extremely well, which was English. But today, if I was to think the person on top of the mind who I think can speak a global language extremely proficiently is a politician from my country. His name is Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor is a very erudite polyglot. He knows to speak a lot of languages, including native Indian languages, but he excels in English. He used to work as the secretary in the Secretariat of the United Nations, but after that he quit his plum posting. to come back to India to serve the people here. And he decided to do that by becoming an elected representative. The language that he is extremely well versed in is English, and that's because he has communicated to a lot of people in this language, and he also does a lot of research, and he is known for bringing unheard or less common lexical resources when it comes to using English. He uses this language primarily and firstly for communicating to his audience, which usually are students from Oxford University, his political opponents, and even communicating to the people in his constituency back home. Additionally, he also uses this language for writing books. Shashi Tharoor is a well-known author, and his books are extremely well received by readers. And finally, he uses English to communicate via social media in the form of quips and quizzes, where he brings in words he was known to bring in words which are unheard of by the regular English speaker. Why I think Shashi has learned this language well is because initially his schooling was in an English medium. Secondly, his parents insisted that he be always immersed in the language and have an intellectual bent of mind, and that's why he spent tomes of hours. He spent loads of hours reading big tomes of literature. That's why he learned it like a native speaker. So, in conclusion, Shashi Tharoor is the man who I know who can speak English in a top notch and very proficient way. That's so by this time the examiner would tell you to stop the test, and they would continue with the next part of the speaking, which would be your task 3. So I hope that you have seen how the language would be, how the task 2 would go, and I hope that you will use this. You can do better than me. I wish the best, and I can surely assure you that if you speak like this, you'll definitely get 7+ bands. Thank you for watching. Stay connected. Be in touch with that free resources that you see here. And also, you can also have personalized speaking and writing services through me, IJ Thomas, your IELTS coach. Have a great day and do great. Thank you.